In this video, I will be showing you how to install Kali Linux 2021.3 on Windows 10 without any errors. After installing Kali Linux on Windows, you can use Kali Linux and Windows 10 simultaneously, without shutting down your computer. It would be like you installed Kali Linux as a software on Windows 10. And you can also delete Kali Linux easily from Windows 10 without messing up your computer. You will need a PC with a minimum 25 GB free space, VirtualBox, and the latest Kali Linux installer image. So without wasting time, let's download the required files. First, open any browser and go to the Kali Linux official website. Recently Kali Linux has updated its website UI. You need to click this Get Kali button in order to download the installer image. Here, you will see different download options like bare metal, virtual images, etc. You need to download bare metal installer image for this tutorial. You have to download Kali Linux 32-bit or 64-bit installer image according to your system. I'm using a 64-bit system, so I will download 64-bit installer image. After downloading Kali Linux 2021.3 installer image, open another tab, and download VirtualBox Setup for Windows Host, and VirtualBox Extensions Pack. Now move all the files to one folder. Now install VirtualBox on your laptop or PC. Installation is straightforward. Now, we have to install VirtualBox Extensions Pack. Go to Files tab, and then Preferences. Here, click on Extensions. Now click on the plus icon on the right, and then add the VirtualBox Extension Pack. Now, we are ready to create a new virtual machine for Kali Linux. Simply click on this new button and continue. Now give the name to your virtual machine. And select Type as Linux. And in the version field you have to choose Debian 64-bit option. In the memory size, you have to allocate RAM to your Kali Linux. Since I have 16 GB RAM on my laptop, I will give 4 GB to Kali Linux. Assign at least 2 GB of RAM. You can allocate RAM according to your PC's specification. After allocating RAM, click on the Next button. Now we have to create a virtual hard disk for Kali Linux. Select this option and click on Create. Choose hard disk type as VDI and click Next. Click on Dynamically Allocated and continue. Here give the size of the virtual hard disk for Kali Linux. Make sure to give minimum 25 GB, or you will face errors while installing. After setting up virtual disk space, click on this Create button. You can see Kali Linux virtual machine is created successfully. But before starting the virtual machine, we have to make some important changes to it. Just select the Kali Linux virtual machine and click on the Settings option. Now under the General tab, go to the Advanced option. Just select the bi-directional option under the Shared Clipboard and drag and drop. This will enable you to share data between Windows and Kali Linux easily. Next, go to the System tab and select this Processors tab. Here you can see, VirtualBox assigned only one processor to the virtual machine. Since I have an 8-core CPU, I am giving 4 processors to this virtual machine. In the Display tab, you have to increase display memory to maximum 128 MB. Now move down to the Storage section. Here we are going to add the Kali Linux ISO image to our virtual machine. Just click on this empty option here and then click on this CD icon. After that, click on Choose a disk file and browse to the location where you have downloaded the Kali Linux ISO image. Now add the Kali Linux ISO image to your virtual machine. You can see Kali Linux ISO image is added under Controller IDE. Leave the rest of the settings as it is and close all menus. Now Kali Linux virtual machine is ready to run. Just click on this Start button. It will open the Kali Linux virtual machine. Be patient, it will take some time to launch the virtual machine. As you can see, the virtual machine is booted with the Kali Linux ISO image. Here select the graphical install option and continue. This will take 1-2 minutes to load all Kali Linux installation files. Now select the language in which you want to use Kali Linux and continue. Here choose your location, and continue. Now select your keyboard layout. If you don't know your keyboard layout, then keep the default selected option and continue. Now setup is loading additional components, so this will take some time. Now it is configuring the network. Since we are installing Kali Linux and VirtualBox, there is only a virtual Ethernet adapter and no Wi-Fi card. It will automatically configure it. Now after some time, you will see this window. Here you can give the host name of your Kali Linux. Just leave it as it and continue. Also, leave the domain name blank and continue. Now we have to create a new user for Kali Linux. Just give your full name and continue. Now, set the password for this user. It is going to set up the clock and configure the virtual disk for partitioning. Now you have reached the disk partitioning step. Here you have to partition the virtual disk we created earlier. You can see different partitioning options here. But in this video, we will be using guided partitioning method. Select this guided partitioning and continue. Here select this disk and continue. You can partition your disk in different schemes. This separate home partitioning scheme will make a different home partition. And this one will create a separate home, var, and temp partition. Just select all files in one partition scheme and continue. It will partition the virtual disk into two parts. The first partition is of X4 type, and the second is swap partition. Kali Linux will be installed in this X4 partition. Now select this Finish Partitioning option and click on Continue. Here it is asking if you want to write changes to disk. Just click Yes and continue. It will format your virtual hard disk and start installing the base system. Please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to my channel. It takes lots of efforts to create a helpful video for you guys. Now we have reached the software selection step. By default, all these packages are selected. If you want to install all tools in your Kali Linux, just tick this large package. You can also change the desktop environment of Kali Linux. By default, Kali Linux uses XFCE desktop environment. Here, you can change it to GNOME or KDE if you want to. I am continuing installation with XFCE desktop environment. Now all selected packages will install on Kali Linux. This may take a considerable amount of time, so sit back and relax. Now Grub bootloader will be installed. It is asking if you want to install the Grub bootloader to your hard drive. Just select Yes and continue. Select your virtual hard drive and continue. Now bootloader will be installed on your virtual hard drive, and the installation will finish. You can see, Grub bootloader is booted up. Here select the Kali GNU Linux option. Now log in with the username and password you set when installing Kali Linux. We have successfully installed Kali Linux on Windows 10 with full screen mode. You can also check the Kali Linux version using lsb release command. Now you can use both Kali Linux and Windows 10 simultaneously. If you want to get out of Kali Linux full screen mode, just press Ctrl+F. And then you can also minimize Kali Linux and use Windows 10 if you want to. Well, these are the benefits of installing Kali Linux on Windows 10. You can also delete Kali Linux from Windows 10 easily. First, close the Kali Linux virtual machine, and then open VirtualBox. Now, right-click on Kali Linux virtual machine from the list. Click Remove, and choose Delete All Files option. It will safely delete Kali Linux from Windows 10 and free up the disk space on which Kali Linux is installed. Comment on this video if you find this video helpful. That's all for today. Thanks for watching till the end. I will see you in the next one.